up a seat at the bar to join us for another episode of McAnally's Pubcast, a podcast exploring the fun and fantastical mind of Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files series. Hosts Tanzan, Maggie, and me bring you another round of literary analysis on this immense, immersive, and colorful environment inhabited by Harry Dresden, the world's only licensed private investigator and professional wizard. Join an active and engaged community of new and die-hard dedicated fans focused on the fabulous themes, theories, characters, context, lore, and more. This is McAnally's Dresden Files Pubcast by Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.
Welcome to McAnally's Pubcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. This is episode 10.7, The Cabbage Patch Prophecy, where we are covering the novel Death Masks. My name is Tanzan, and I'm joined by Maggie.
Hello, hello.
And Jess.
What's up, Doc? People?
Thank you to our Patreon subscribers for your generous support. It's people like you who help us do what we do. If you're not yet a Patreon subscriber, sign up today and get a fuck ton of bonus content, kick-ass merch, behind-the-scenes outtakes, and more. Sign up today at patreon.com/freeflowrambling. Chapter 8. Harry returns to his apartment and gets to work in his lab. Bob provides him information on the diseased corpse and the Denarians. Dresden then asks Bob to find the Shroud, but Bob is unable to do so, but tells Harry about an oracle spirit who can. Dresden calls upon this spirit and receives not only the information he seeks, but is informed about a prophecy regarding his involvement with the Shroud.
Never get involved with a Shroud. So he gets all moody, broody wizard on the way back, and I think it essentially kind of comes down to the same thing where he's like, I get it, Michael's my friend, and he's but he's still being like, bullying me into not taking it, and I don't like bullies even if they are like my best friend and really, really good and know everything and I should listen to them. It's still just like that on principle. It's like you hit that button and I can't ignore it no matter what.
I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna pout and then I'm gonna take a nap.
Yeah.
Meh.
You can't tell me not to get into danger and kill myself. I will if I want to.
Yeah, instead, actually, no, I'm gonna work in my lab. Screw it.
Yeah.
Too mad now, fuck.
Right. We just kind of figure he's okay, though, because Mr. is fine, and he's like, normally, he's like, I was fairly confident no preternasties were hanging around in ambush. He's like, Mr. tends to make lots of noise and leave. He's like, which just goes to show Mr. smarter than I am. Right? It's like, we all say that, but do we ever actually listen to our cats and stuff when they're, you know?
Yes. Every time they hear a random noise, I'm like, that's it, the murderer's here.
It's like, do you actually arm yourself?
Creeps me out when they're staring in the corner.
I wait to die.
You see,
I'm not fighting for my life, but that doesn't mean that I don't believe. I believe that I cannot fight for my life, so...
I am so accepting of the fact that...
In fact, it'd be great if someone could just put me out of my misery.
Why am I the one that keeps getting threatened to get killed? Like, apparently I should be working on a plan.
Get the whole family at once, okay? We can go together. It'll be fun.
Group activity.
Yeah. One last big hurrah.
The family that slays together just definitely
Drinks the
stays
purple
together.
Kool-Aid together.
Boring.
It's so been done. That's why it's taking so long. I have to come up with something new, okay?
Yeah. I want my own Netflix documentary, okay?
Oh, God.
So we get the little recap of, decides he's going to get some work done, because even though it's like the middle of the night and he's tired and exhausted and had all this shit go down, well, obviously I can't sleep now. So, we get the little recap of his lab. So it's not quite as immaculately pristine as it was when he was in complete psycho-obsessed mode, but he has learned his lesson and keeps it neater than he did in book 1, where he almost died because he couldn't get to the things he needed. So now it's just kind of a normal level of, decently clean with a tiny bit of normal people clutter. And again, it's just like the magic words of Bob, because I've noticed in almost every, like, especially going back and rereading them all now with an eye for, like, literally every time he first goes to Bob, he's like, Bob, we have work to do, wake up. I'm like, is that, like, the magic word for, like, like Mr. Dressup had, like, the little thing he would say to, like, the wise old owl and whatever, and, like, Mr. Rogers had his thing about going into, like, the Storyline Neverland. What the heck was it called in Mr. Rogers? Damn it. But anyways, but this is like his thing. It's like, Bob, wake up, Bob. We have work to do. Because I swear that's like what he says. It's never just like, hey, Bob, what's up? It's like, yo, Bob, I'm back. It's always like, Bob, wake up. We have work.
Right.
I mean, it'd be pretty boring if you just sat on a shelf all day. I know he's got books, but like I would probably be sleeping all the time too.
Well, I get it, but that's what I mean. It's just like not like he ever says like, "Hey, Bob, are you up?" or like, "Yo, Bob, I'm home," or like that's what I mean.
Honey,
it's like,
I'm home.
Yeah, he does. Like I can totally see that being like a Harry and Bob thing or something too. Like, "Honey, I'm home." Like, "Oh God, kill me now." Like I'm not your. You know what I mean? Like if you think I'm putting an apron on for you, you got another. But that's it. It's just literally. I swear every time I want to go back now and look and like I'm like that's why I almost just like is that like the phrase that like gets them. Like, hey, Alexa, like, you have to be something specific that's their wake-up mode so they recognize
Hey, old person. It's Alexa or Hey Google. It's not Hey Alexa.
Well, it depends, because we had to change it because
Stop that, my speaker's going to talk back to you.
I was going to say, it was like, ours kept going off, or like the TV and stuff like that, was that we had to change what we called it or whatever, because, random parts of conversation or the television were constantly setting it off. And it's like, no, it's just a commercial for Alexa. Don't actually...
Harry does give Bob the updates on the latest events, and Dresden gets the cliff notes on the accords and the duel from Bob. Harry gets to pick the weapon, and Ortega chooses the time and location. There will be an assigned neutral emissary who will help decide, and both Ortega and Dresden will also need to choose a second, who also works out terms for the duel as well.
Right. So he attempts to look up his scroll of things. Well, first, Bob is all like, well, you don't do things halfway, do you? And he's like, so I, like, blew up the studio, and then, like, got shot at, and then, like, got hired to find the Shroud, and then, like, got attacked, found this, like, plague corpse, and then I got attacked by, like, a demon bear, and Bob's like, wow, like, you don't do things halfway. And he's like, look,
just another Tuesday.
Right, pretty much,
this has
right?
been, like, what, 12, 16 hours? Like,
because, as we discovered, this is still the same day as it feels like a week has gone by, but no, this is the day he started out with his interview, just so he could ask Morty if he knew where Susan was.
Every morning. Yeah, and she showed up at his house, too.
Right.
Thanks a lot, girl. Next time, reply to my email.
Like, if I'd been at home instead of at the studio having to talk...
Could you imagine, though, like, had Harry and Mort been friends? Like, he just shows up for, like, coffee next week. He's like, dude, what the fuck? He's like, you talk to the supernatural to get a little bit of insight into what's happening, and none of that was in the cards? Well, in the last 24 hours, 400 people have shown up to Chicago.
Well,
we've got Fallen Angel,
You didn't ask me if a cranky priest from Rome was coming. You said, where's Susan? I just asked, where's Susan?
Michelle, or wait, no, Stephanie. Stephanie, why didn't you say anything? Nobody asked.
It's like Morty was secretly talking to one of one of Harry's dead enemies that was like...
So they're just like a Harry...
Oh, you're inquiring on behalf of who?
Murdered by Harry support group, and all the ghosts just like meet up at Mort's basement.
Like, tell him this.
Right.
Tell him Susan's in South America. It's real funny. Do it.
Right, so he already gets, like, he's like, okay, look, we don't have time for that, just, like, critique later, I need advice and stuff now, like, okay, can we just get through this, and then you can tell me what
Oh, Bob, was that list not enough for you? You think I have time for this?
Would you like to go?
Really, Bob, you're gonna bully me today, too, on top of everyone else?
It's like, hello, have you
Really, he's
met me?
a friend right now. I just lost my only one other friend, like...
Well, he didn't lose him. He's just, going to completely deny him.
Right.
Defy his only wish. I only want one thing for you, and because of this, like, child I named after you. Well, screw you.
Right.
No. But exactly. So he figures, like, wait, start with the duel, right? And he's like, okay, let me look up all this shit so I can, like, refresh my memory. And it starts off with, like, what was it? Insofar or in so much or...
Yeah, bullshit.
Something, and he's just like, okay, well, yeah, in so much. And he's like, okay, so yeah. So I do like that. I'm all like, well, if you could just give him the Cliff's Note, why did you bother digging it out in the first? Like,
I
you
know,
knew
right?
what this
Like Bob's whole purpose is to know what all this shit is, like.
Yeah, and I just like, so that I guess in America that'd be Cliff Notes, and for us that's like Cold Notes. I think in the UK it's like Sparks Notes or something like that.
No, the internet is Sparks Notes.
Is that what Sparks Notes is? It's like but yeah, I used to get confused about that for a little while, like when I was very young, because I'd always be like, because yeah, we literally we have Cole's Notes here, and they have Cliff Notes there, or the abridged booklets of whatever,
The cheats,
yeah. Because it'd be like you'd be watching
I don't want to
TV.
read Shakespeare. I'm just going to read the
Cold Notes.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, so it goes through. I mean, I guess it's a nice little show off for Bob about like it's in the third box under the shelf behind the rabbit whiskers or whatever, you know. And then he's like, so he pulls it out and he's like, wow, this is really complicated. Bob's like, well, I'll just tell you what it said. And he's like, yeah, okay, cool. And, like chucks the scroll over his
Hey, the
shoulder.
wizard's the master. He wants to read the scroll. Let him read the scroll.
I guess, but I'm like, I can't figure out why Harry wanted to read the scroll in the first place because he knows he has one. So I'm like, he probably
To
looked
be
at that
fair,
thing when
though,
he got
like,
it.
we find out later on that, like, he didn't ever read this stuff, so he didn't realize how, like, bullshit it was gonna be, right? He says a little bit in the next chapter, he's like, oh, yeah, I never actually read that.
I assumed he would have, like, glanced at it, because he knows he's got, it would have been like, okay, you're a wizard now, so here's your copy of the duels, here's your, like, spells for dummy, here's your, like, your
Yeah, and
wizard
did you ever
rope,
go through your welcoming package? No.
Most of us glance through it, right? And then we go, wow, like, again.
Just like his determination to learn Latin. Come on.
Right? It's like, they give you your, like, employee handbook, and you usually skim, like, the first couple of pages and go, like, oh, yeah,
No,
this
you
is bullshit
don't.
like every other, and then you never look back at it. But you usually know whether or not it starts with in so much or not, Like, usually there's, like, one thing in there where you're like, oh, can I wear jeans on? You have to kind of, like, skim it, like, real brief or something. But, yeah, anyways, apparently he didn't, so Bob's just kind of, he gives him sort of the rundown. And turns out that, yeah, Harry's idea of what he expects isn't really all. He's like, oh, okay, well, I get to pick, like, the weapons and the where and the what and the whatever, right? And he's like, not really.
He's
like,
thinking of like the Victorian.
yeah,
sort of
basically
rules.
the,
Gentleman's rules.
right, the dueling 10 Commandments.
Number one.
And every time you see dueling, for some reason, I keep thinking of like pianos.
Says the magician. It's all just dueling banjos and dueling pianos and
You just make a whole musical number out of this.
I know you may be a warlord, Ortega, but how long have you been practicing your music?
Choose your instrument of death.
Is this going to be, here you go, folks. This is going to be like the testament to like how long this podcast lasts. It's like eventually any good show out there eventually has like a musical episode.
That sounds like a lot of work.
Inevitably.
One, two, three.
Which is why they don't happen until like seasons 5 or 6. It's like, okay, we've been around for a while.
We've run out of ideas.
Not necessarily. It's
But
not
who will do the
always.
voiceovers?
It's like I'll like write some rhymes and stuff, but y'all don't want me to do the actual singing tans and stuff after it. But we'll get to it.
It's like one day when we've eventually covered up to
duel.
everything that's out and we're in the waiting for Butcher to finally give us more content, and we're like, we're going to re-record our episode 1, but this time we sing.
See how many trials it takes for the episode 1 again? This is rehearsal number 1, music version.
That would have
episode
been a
1.
lot easier if we'd had like, a specific script written out to follow, then it would have been fine. It's
By
the
that
fact
point,
that
we-
the
I think
entire-
we
Episode 1
did.
was rough. Well,
We did do it like 4 times. Yeah.
did do it at least.
Yeah.
Well, helps when you record with the actual microphones.
Weird.
Damn it.
Interesting.
Not the webcam. Not the webcam.
Right?
It was a learning process, okay?
No,
it was a learning process.
Really was.
Right. Which you had to go through.
Figured it out, though. 'Cause now we're here, talking about ourselves and not Dresden.
And it sounds so pretty.
Da-da-da-da-da.
For those of you who haven't figured it out by now, the background noises are put in. It's supposed to be a pub with firecrackling.
We're at a pub.
Yep.
Right?
Pubcast.
We are at a pub.
Dishes.
We are at McAnally's pub,
Exactly. Looking at 13 pillars and 13 windows and 13 fans
dining on.
and a real grumpy chef.
Steak sandwiches and warm ale.
Like a glass with ice, please.
Where the steak sandwiches are cold and the beer is warm. Come on down. So he wants to just pick like high noon, in the middle of the park, and I guess apparently that's not a thing.
I choose high noon at St. Mary's.
Yeah. Come on, Ortega, let me
I really want to do like that Western whistle, but I can't because I'm laughing now.
Yeah, I can't do it right now either.
So either way, we figure out that Harry's going to have to choose a second so that they can set up this meeting and go along with this duel and that blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and he's only maybe going to get to pick magic, because he's like, well, wizard, hello. And Bob's like, yeah, maybe, if that's one. He's like, well, what do you mean if that's maybe? And he's like, well, yeah, somebody else entirely gets to pick. He's like, it usually is, but, like, somebody else gets to pick entirely, like, what that is. And if he doesn't want to use it, he can, like,
no.
He can veto it. And Harry's like, what the fuck? I can't pick high noon. I can't pick magic.
Like, does Harry get to, like, veto, like, the place, at least? Like, if Paulo gets to, like, suggest a place?
I would think in some ways that, yeah, if he legitimately had...
same terms, really.
You know, yeah, if he's, like... you know, in the sewer at midnight or something, Harry can be like, okay, I need light, I'm human, I need...
In the poison chamber at the morgue.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like, yeah. So, yeah, presumably if Ortega gets a chance to veto some of Harry's picks, Harry must conceivably have a chance to, but
I'd be afraid. I'd be afraid of that, because in that case it'd be like, okay, fine, I'm vetoing the poison chamber, and then the next thing is like piranha tank, right? Like, it'd be a lot easier for Ortega to set up a second, even worse option.
That's true, but then again, I guess it falls back to the same thing that Harry's gonna have X amount of options to choose. So
the initiary will get to choose some options.
Yeah, exactly. The third party will hopefully, you know, be like, okay, there's only like one poison chamber per. You get one Sunny Park, one poison chamber.
Why are we in a giant oven?
You know?
I love even more that Harry's so suspicious that the first thing that's offered is a Sunny Park, and he's like, too easy. Vetoed. And then he's like, okay, second option is poison chamber.
Like, damn it! Shit. Fucking knew it. He's so much his luck.
Alright.
So, yeah.
Ask Bob to go and do some shit for him.
Yeah. Well, and then he says, but this is good. He's like, oh, like, do I need a second? And Bob's like, oh, yeah, you're totally going to need to have a second. So, obviously, Harry doesn't have one because he doesn't know, because he's asking if he needs one. So, he's like, oh, do I need one? And Bob's like, yeah. And then he's like, your second, we'll talk to their second, and they'll sort out all the details, which I'm like, fine, I guess. But considering Ortega already approached them and, like, basically was like, hey, let's do this, I'm like, it seems a little bit...
Right. You formalities with these fucking supernaturals.
I guess. I'm like, okay, fine. If this was like a whole case of like, yeah, you guys literally can't see each other because you'll try and rip each other to bits before then. But it's like you're already talking. And Harry's, I'm sure at this point, more than happy to keep talking about it before he actually has to do it. But no. Now you got to get the seconds involved.
Two friends at school decide they're going to have a sleepover. But then they got to go and involve their moms and ask them and have their mom call his mom.
Yeah, exactly, right. So then he's like, yeah, they'll get in touch. And then Harry's like, well, I don't have one. Bob's like, well, then get one. And it's like, I kind of like this where he's like banging his head against the wall. But I was like, it's kind of like, you are setting it up. Like, you're almost talking like, yeah, you need one and they'll do this and this and this. But he just told you he doesn't have one. So why, you know what I mean? And it's kind of funny. It's like, I guess when you get thrown the obviously, it's the only thing
old married couple, you know.
Yeah, right? Oh my God.
Been around each other way too long.
Started. You should hear my bosses at work lately. Oh.
Who are married to each other.
Who are married to each other. Yes. Family run business. And they bring the whole bicker like an old married couple to, you know.
True to form.
Oh my God. Sometimes it's just hilarious and like so textbook listening to them squabble with each other.
So they move on to the whole like mangled corpse and plague-ridden corpse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then like and Harry's also given him the rundown on like the Denarians and everything like that, which isn't great because Bob is like, oh well, like something like really big and really strong would need like a really big power source to do it. And then he's like, well, the Denarians are involved. And he's like, oh, well, they're actually so big and so strong that they don't need the extra power source. They don't need lightning or
ley lines or
whatever he fucking suggests.
Ley lines. Sorcerer's ley lines.
They just have that power because they've had a couple,
millennia.
at least 2,000 years to practice at it.
That'd do it.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, he's like, anyone with 2,000 years of practice can hone a craft, right? Like,
yeah. Well, because he says,
nothing
like,
but time.
Because he figures, he's like, oh, it must have been like a curse, right? And Bob's like, yeah, probably. And he's like, well, how big? And he's like, bigger than the spell that Shadow Man was using, right? And Harry's like, oh, well, he was tapping into all the storms. He was tapping into the storms and ritual, right? He was having all the little sex orgies to get all that energy and whatever going, right? So he's like, oh, yeah, right? So you're like, right there, you're like, okay, there's some scale for us to look at. Like, that was a pretty big thing, you know, harnessing all this.
How's this guy banging it out this time?
So So Harry starts offering up some symbols that he's seen that day, right?
Yeah, so we get the Ayatoth or whatever.
Toth.
I think it is Toth. I know Marsters reads it as Thoth too, and I'm pretty sure that's... But yeah, but he's kind of like, oh, well, like, who uses this or whatever, right? And he's like...
Everybody.
Yeah, pretty much.
Who doesn't?
You can find it as anybody's tramp stamp.
Starts with, mystical occulty things, brotherhood.
If you remember back to Ghoul Goblin, right, when there was that chain fence and the... Tate?
Chain fence?
What was her name? Tatum? The family that was getting killed?
Yeah,
Ghoul
yeah.
Goblin?
Was it... Damn it.
Shoot, can't remember their names. Point is that the one guy at the fence he had like every occult, every magic, every zodiac, like just any possible symbol made out of the wrought iron fence, just to cover his bases. He's like, just in case one of these is actually legit, it's in the fence. It's in the border.
All of them are legit. That's why he had all of them.
Right, yes.
Dresden goes on to sketch the symbol that was on Ursiel's forehead, and Bob tells him to destroy it right away. He's like, no.
Freaks out, yeah.
Yeah.
That's not
Talbot.
Talbot, thank you.
Talbot family.
That's not the sort of thing you want to be summoning into your home. Calling, making aware of your presence.
That's where Bob gives more information on the Order of the Black and Denarius, that they choose bad people, assassins, poisoners, warriors, sorcerers, and these coins make these people immortal, and that time, with the time, they become very, very practiced and powerful foes, strong enough to power this plague curse without even a big power source, as you said. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it, right? He's like, even a modest talent, when you have that much time to fucking work on it, can become pretty damn impressive, right? So it's like, even if they were just kind of a schmuck gold panner to begin with, it's like now... Right, and it's like...
What they do with a powerhouse.
And this is what he says, because he's like, well, they have to play by the rules, right? And Bob's like, no. He's like, that's the problem, is that they don't. And yeah, they take these people that are already inclined to be kind of assholes, it's not like badasses, and so yeah, and then join them up with this crazy-ass superpower. And he's like, they like work together, like that's the thing. He's like, it's not just them entirely overtaking and manipulating and seducing and, and it's like, yeah, they have more wiggle room than like, I guess, other normal angels kind of a thing that still have to stay somewhat within that realm. But he's like, yeah, so not only can they play outside the rules, but he's like, they're working in cooperation, which again just makes it 10 times worse right there. Because they're not fighting against their host to, it's like, hey, you want to do this? That sounds brilliant. Okay, let's go.
Collection of all sorts of skills to work with.
Yeah, like they don't have to spend half their time and energy convincing this poor schmuck the human bodies that they need. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, buddy team right from the get-go. It's like, well, you thought you were going to knock over the candy store? I already know how to rob a bank. And they're like, oh, okay, even better. So, yeah, big badass, big not cool, big lots of power. So, yeah, so he figures out, okay, yeah, so they don't need to make a power source. So then he's like, okay, well, next thing on the list, Ortega's totally going to kick my ass and kill me. The Denarians can totally kick my ass and kill me. In the meantime, maybe we should find the Shroud. He's like, you go out and look for that. And Bob's like, no way. And he's like, what the fuck?
Not my realm, buddy.
What the fuck do I pay you for?
Intellect versus faith.
Yeah. So they don't operate on the same plane of existence, the same wavelength of power.
Right. I mean, at least he does offer an alternate, which is good, which is Shavravas. I don't know how to say it.
Shavravas?
Yeah. She's an ally of the Loa, an oracle spirit. There's details about halfway through your copy of Dumont's Guide to Divinationators.
Yeah. Which totally sounds like something out of Harry Potter to me here whenever, Dumont's Guide to Divinationators. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. And I'm like, I guess it's like, I don't mind it. I kind of like it, but it's also kind of a touch of a cop-out, because I'm like, oh, sure, Bob can't. But I'm like, I guess if Bob could zero in on it, then exactly, Bob would just be like, oh, yeah, it's here. Book over. So I'm like, I guess you have to have a reason why. But at the same time, I'm like, it actually does fit pretty well with Bob. Like, it's not like a super stretch. It's like, I can buy that exactly, right? This, spirit of...
Yeah, it's very believable.
Yeah, it's not like just a, oops, we have to have...
We've got a plot hole here I need to fill.
Exactly, right? You're like, okay, you do a decent job of being able, like, yeah, I know lots of this shit, but this is faith magic, and I am so not faith magic. And you're like, okay, all right, I'll give you that one. So they talk prices, and he's like, yeah, not bad. You got the shit you need to call her up, because as we've learned, you need to offer things to do summonings and stuff like that. So then he likes this. She's like, she isn't usually malicious. And he's like, usually? She'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Just don't be a dick.
Right?
You know that's hard. Try your best.
Right? It's like sometimes she can be a bit harsh, but she's fine. So then
I did like that sort of incorporation of, like, the New Orleans sort of...
Mm-hmm. The voodoo sort of.
Hoodoo kind of stuff.
The Loa and yeah, exactly, right? Like, again, one more sort of branch that you can draw into it or whatever, you know.
A lot of variety, I like it.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, fine, wants Bob to go check out Marcone's place, because he's like, I don't know how they're involved, but he already tried to take a shot at me, so obviously there's something, whether it's to do with this or something I don't know about yet.
Please go spy on him.
Right. So he's like, I'm going to go work on some potions and stuff like that, and you go check that out for me. So Bob finally gets to leave, because he's like, he was ready to go like an hour ago, and he's like, I want you to go check something out. And he's like, no, wait, I need all this other shit first. And Bob's like, ugh, fine. Like, wait, I just have to make me work for shit?
All right.
But, although I don't know if they just did it on the down low or he's getting better, because he didn't have to give him, like, the entire, like, rundown of what he is and isn't allowed to do this time. Like, the first time he let him out, he's like, no causing orgies, no visiting sorority houses, no, now he's like, can you behave this time, right? Like, just do this.
I mean, it's a freebie. Just be home before dawn. We'll call it even.
Right? Like, I better not
Just
hear
don't
about...
get caught.
Well, I guess that's true. He's only giving him, because basically Bob says it's just a few hours before dawn, so maybe that's it. He's like, well, by the time he gets over and checks out, Mark, he's going to have to hightail it back. He's not going to have time to... Maybe that's all it is. He's like, I just, use idle hands or the devil's playthings. He's like, if he's too busy to get into trouble, he can't get into trouble.
Right. Right.
So Bob has him like these ward flames, which we haven't seen before either.
Which?
The ward flames, it's just not something we've seen before.
Right.
Yeah.
So, pretty simple. Red, yellow, green.
Really easy candelabra, right?
Green is good, you're fine. Yellow is, something's coming. Red is, get the fuck out.
Real convenient system.
Real convenient. So, looks up Elsharvis, and then turns out all she needs is, like, whiskey and tobacco. Cha-ching!
And a homunculus.
Do you know what a homunculus is, Jessica?
A body.
Pretty much. Like a...
Hunka.
molecule.
Homunculus.
Something with limbs.
It was like a Stargate thing too, and now I can't remember if it was like something that actually came up in an episode or if it was like I feel like probably, but it was either that or like a fan fiction. And I hate every once in a while when I think of something, and I was like, oh, and then I'm like, damn it, I don't remember if that was actually like a real thing or like, it's like the real thing you can reference because other people will know it, but it's like, oh, well, never mind, it was a fanfic I read once about. The only thing it had in relation was that it was these people.
So Dresden does start this circle, and Elsharvis comes to the circle and inhabits a Cabbage Patch doll. She relents and then indulges in the whiskey and the tobacco. I love that.
I totally get the insult there, though. Like, imagine you summon someone so much more powerful than yourself, and you're like, but be in this Cabbage Patch doll, right?
I know. And it's so funny because he just says he has something that he puts in, right? You're not really thinking about it that much until he, like, and he's putting down, like, whiskey and chewing tobacco and summoning.
You're expecting, like, a voodoo doll or something, right?
Like, something. Yeah, she pops in and she's like, this is what you gave me. And he's like, so I put her in a Cabbage Patch doll. He's like, to be fair, she was super cute. You know, little blonde ringlets, little pink and blue dress.
Like, anyone you call, you put into that doll.
It's like,
which,
like,
definitely suits his humor anyways. Right? Like, he's probably like,
I can't be that scared.
Well, I was going to say, it's partially that, because, I mean, again, it almost, because she could have just been like, peace out, right? She could have been like, screw you, this is totally, and at least he's like, I'm sorry, it's all I had with, like, arms and legs, so, which apparently you need to hold, like, a whiskey glass, right? Yeah. But,
she relents.
She relents, yeah. She's like, okay, fine, I can still drink the whiskey. So, which again is another, he's like, I don't know how. Like, technically there's no mouth and there's not even, like, a stomach, but it all went somewhere.
I just love it so much. Although, for some reason, instead of thinking of a Cabbage Patch doll, because I agree, they're kind of weird looking. I sort of think of a kind of a cross between that and a Raggedy Ann doll. Is what I sort of had that in my head, which I think is much better.
Yeah, I almost would have rather the Raggedy Ann. I remember, like, Garbage Pail Kids more than like the Cabbage Patch or whatever. I'm
It's like, I like Raggedy Ann only for the old cartoon. Otherwise, I don't really care. The old cartoon was cute.
Right.
So moving on. Oshavarus. She knows what he wants.
So yeah, already she's like, oh, so you hear about the Shroud? And he's like, damn, you're good. It's like, well, I guess you're looking for an oracle. I guess you might as well know what you're... it's like that age-old, like, calling the psychic, and they're being like, what do you want? And be like, shouldn't you already know? She's like, oh, I do.
Here's your freebie.
Here's your freebie.
It's really weird, though, because, like, she doesn't want to work with him because he's not religious. And it's like, we just had this conversation, man. Like...
Yeah, she's like, I won't work for a Bukor. And he's like, I'm not. And she's like, well, you're not like Hungan, and you aren't like Mambo. Which, again, just makes me think of snakes are dancing.
He's got black magic that has stained him.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Mambo and Hungan are like a female and male priest.
Yeah.
Like,
For the...
so she's very much like, you still showed up here, you still know, but
So it's
listen.
like, oh, you're dabbling in this stuff, but you have no, like... belief system or like deity to back you, so how do I know you're not just using it for evil? Yeah. Exactly.
Can't
right.
trust you, bitch.
Right? So yeah, you kind of can't win, right? It's like, you aren't. So he has this whole like Switzerland speech again with the Cabbage Patch doll. And it's like, look. So I just came from St. Mary's, where he was speaking to like this agnostic atheist sort of the cross. So, yes, so she does say, she's like, you've got, darkness. And he's like, yeah, I made some bad calls. So she's like, no, okay, at least you're honest. You're not trying to bullshit about it or, like, make me so. Okay, good enough. Which is like, okay, I guess, but...
Yeah, you owned it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly right. She's like, okay, if you're going to own that, you're not trying to be deceitful to me and, like, hide more. So I will accept sort of that. Yeah, they were a couple of bad calls and not that you're trying to be more evil than you are, Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'll make some bad choices in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, she's like, all right, it was pretty good whiskey, so, I'm kind of like, yo. And again, like, can you just imagine this? Because again, I'm like, okay, the whiskey disappeared, but the whole point of chewing tobacco is that you have to spit out all the... So can you imagine this little blonde, ringleted, calico dress wearing chubby face doll, like, with the chewing tobacco? Ding. Right, like, did he throw a fancy little spittoon in there with her? Because he didn't say, is she just using, like, the empty whiskey glass now? Like,
Right on his floor, fuck this guy.
yeah, like, you give me a Cabbage Patch, you just spit out wads of tobacco all over your fancy copper
Gross.
circle.
Or did she, like, leave
Have
the body?
fun.
It's just actually inside the
Like,
doll.
at least
now?
she can't spit it at him because there's a barrier.
And she's like, I will drool it all over your circle, and you'll have to scrub the fuck out of this thing next time you want
I'll stay here long enough for it to dry.
Yeah, but that's just like stains and stuff, so like no matter what, he'd have to scrub.
Fuck you, dude.
Yeah, either way, it'd be like, eh.
You're not going to be able to use this Cabbage Patch again.
yeah, that's the point. Oh, dear.
So yeah, so that apparently that was just the payment or the incentive for her to show up, that she actually has like a price to answer his questions. So apparently the whiskey and tobacco weren't.
Well, the price isn't quite that bad. She wants information, but not like his name or anything. He just...
Yeah, she's like, you have to answer me truthfully. And he's like, screw that. He's like, yeah, you're going to ask me for like my whole capital N name, and then you'll have me, and forget that. And she's very nice about the whole thing. She's like, no, I'm not trying to trap you. She's like, I didn't say you had to give me the whole truth, just what you give me is. In which case, you would have been like, yeah, okay, fine. And if he asked your name, you'd have been like, Dresden. It's like, that is just all you get. Like, I was completely truthful. That's the only part I want to give you, and you would have got. But she's not into that. She asks him something else that he does have to answer to some degree. So he figures like, okay, fine, if I don't have to give you the truth, then whatever, I can give you whatever part answers. So she's just like, why do you do what you do? He's like this here? She's like, no, all of it. Like, why are you a wizard? Why do you present yourself openly? Why do you help mortals? And he's like, I don't know. Like, does that really count? I'm not saying that's not honest, but I mean, like...
And he thinks about it for a bit first. He's like, yeah, I don't know. Oh.
Next question.
Well, yeah, because she's like, so she throws a few things at him, like, well, you could be doing, like, this or that, or whatever, like, others of your kind just sit up in their musty, dusty old towers, and, you know, and she's like, but you don't, you know, she's like, you have, like, you know, basically like a poor home and a dingy office and like facing danger all the time and
why?
And why? Yeah. And so he's like, well, what the hell kind of question is that? She's like, an important one, and one you agreed to be honestly. And so this is the thing. So he's like, you know, kind of does cover some of it, and he gives a bit, like, well, I guess I want to help people and blah, blah, blah. But basically it comes down to, you know, he's like, I don't know. Like, I guess I never really thought, and I mean, I love her answer here. So he's like, I never really thought about it. She's like, oh, don't you think you should? That's a really fair point, considering what you've gone through in the last couple of years, and even some of the thought, like,
the shit's still worth it, Dresden,
right? Like, even some of what she's pointing out in her thing, and then his thought process behind. But I'm like, yeah, even for all that thought process and her like sort of prompting, I'm like, he still comes up with nothing. He's still like, I have no idea. And she's like, well, okay, at least you honestly have no idea. So I guess, you know what I mean? She's just like, I guess I have to take that as my... Because I'd be like, you didn't fucking answer. You didn't tell her jack shit. Right? Because I was like, you asked a couple of clarifying questions. And then everything else was just you thinking it over and coming up with, I don't know.
So annoying when you're like in the cash cab and you call a friend and they don't know the answer and you're like, what the fuck?
Right? Like, why did I waste this? Exactly.
Olshavaras? Yeah, she's like, holy shit, I gotta stop asking such stupid questions, apparently.
That's like, next time I'm asking what your fucking name is.
yeah, literally. You know that, right? Don't you?
Yeah.
Well, for an oracle, I wonder why she did choose to ask him that. Like, what does she gain from asking him that question? But she probably already knows, because she's going to know if he's truthful or not. Like,
well, there is that. And as he comes, I think it's just after that he sort of explains how the oracles work and stuff like that, right? So, yeah, so there's a good chance she already knows one way or the other, because, again, she can look down his lifespan and see what else he's done that
does
will...
this question have influence on his life?
That's the thing, though. I think it's a little bit like, as he explains, like, they're experiencing all of time at once, or at least a section of all of time at once, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's even more like the cryptic questions are like, hey, you're a little bit, like, gray in the future, so I need to ask you a question that'll hopefully make you a little bit more, like, colorful, so that you're like more permanent in that timeline. So we're gonna push you in this direction, because right now you don't really like,
just like nudge you very slightly into...
Exactly, right? It's like if you're currently, you know, experiencing the future and like everything is constantly like, you know, hey, there was a grocery store here yesterday and there wasn't one today. I wonder what happened in the past. Oh yeah, this is what happened in the, or I don't know, dumb shit like that all the time, right?
Yeah.
It might be, you know, a little bit more convenient to be like, hey, Dresden, why are you considering buying the house on Elm Street instead of the house on Birch Street? And it's like, oh, you know,
because I had nightmares in that house on Elm Street.
And I was like, I really think, like, don't you think you should maybe think about Birch Street, right? Like, you know, help influence their own futures a little more permanently by being like, by the way, yo, what are you doing? What are you doing? Think about things more.
And it could be, yeah, like I say, I could see it either being where she sort of is trying to specifically, like, okay, you could do A or B, but B would be much better. Or it could even be like, you know, for so many of his things, it's like, oh, he clearly gets to a point, it's like A or B. Mm-hmm. And you can tell easily, like, which way he's going to go, or the two options are just as, you know, but I'm like, I can also see, like, yeah, the further out you go, and it's like, well, really, he's got, like, 6 options here, and not one of them is like a for sure, you know, it's like instead of having like, yeah, a 50-50 option, he's now got like 100 choices and everything is just like a 1%. And we
but that's what I'm thinking. She's purposely trying to be like, don't you want something to be at a 2%?
We need exactly like that's choices. Exactly it. She's like, we need to bump something because you cannot have exactly like a 1% choice for everything. That's just way too much.
The future can't rely on you saying I don't know. You're
just gonna fizzle out and stop at this. You know, you need something to. So yeah, I guess I hadn't necessarily thought at first that it was purposefully to sort of like, so you should think about, you know, no spoilers, but I'm just going to throw this out here. You should pay real particular attention to this question here, Dresden.
Or is this like a tool that Butcher's using just to sort of set up for the readers, like...
Probably a bit of both.
Well, I mean,
that really,
you know,
he's just selflessly going out there and he doesn't actually
no greater
have motivation
oracle,
for it.
right?
Than the author.
Right?
Yeah, well, fair. So, yeah, I was going to say definitely there is part of that where it probably is exactly just Butcher's way of, you know, same thing like explaining what agnostic or something is. It's like, well, we don't want to make anybody, but just in case you don't know, here's the explanation. It's like, yeah, I know that.
A good way to remind your audience, too, that, like, he's the good guy, even if he doesn't know why, or even if he's making these weird choices or dumb shit or making fun of a Knight of the Cross.
Yeah.
Like,
and I mean, even just in the situation right here, right? Like, again, Michael's like, don't get tempted. You don't understand what these guys can do. Like, these guys, right? And she's like, so have you thought about what you're doing and why you're doing it? And maybe, again, bringing that a little bit more to the forethought instead of just, like, being too busy to run around and exactly, like, do I have a milkshake for lunch or do I have, like, a salad, you know? That kind of temptation for most of us isn't a big deal. Okay, so you have the milkshake. Your life is not ultimately going to be ruined, you know, have dessert before dinner or whatever. But in this case, you know, like, this is what she's saying. It's like, you're going to keep picking the milkshake every time, and eventually the Denarians are going to have your ass in a sling, right? So, again, it's bringing more of this to him thinking, what am I doing, why am I doing it, and maybe not being just so...
And especially Harry's life, which tends to snowball in one afternoon.
Yeah, like, don't think this is just a throwaway line here or whatever.
A lot of the time, though, it does seem like Harry's like, well, I had no choice. I was at the Walmart when they got attacked. Like, I had no choice. Like, I was talking to Michael when these guys got involved.
I didn't have time to cook a burger. All I could do was pour a handful of milkshake into my mouth and run out the door.
it's like a lot of the time, he's like, well, there was no... I had to get involved with the Knights Denarian thing. I was in the alley with them, right? But it's like, well, maybe you don't. Maybe you have enough on your plate right now that, like, you fucking deal with the Shroud and Ortega, right?
Maybe you should have just kept running away and not worried the little old homeless man got eaten by a bear.
But it's just like, it's a good point, though, because it's like a lot of the time, Harry's always like, well, I don't have a choice. People keep putting me in these situations. Like, a lot of people actually tell you to fuck off.
Yeah.
So if you're going to continue to not fuck off, maybe you should think about it a little longer than 5 seconds.
Yeah, right, exactly. So... So so she has...
You did start a war.
Right?
Talking about, like, I've made a bad call here, too.
Right.
Is it a bad call, though? I mean, you know, it's against the vampires who we don't like.
But
yes.
Make it clear, he did start a war.
Did start a war.
I mean, we can put that on Bianca, or Ortega even, but he did start a war.
Yeah. So after she throws down all this big, heavy, like, existentialism kind of crisis and her little, like, pink, or her little black patent leather shoes or whatever, you know, and he's like, damn, I don't know. And then she's like, okay, so the guys are over at the harbor. That's it. Like, she doesn't go through any more.
Like, yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, she's like, okay, that was what I got you thinking about. It's okay, yeah, they're totally here. Like, no, even, like, I see big water, and, you know, she's just like, they're at the harbor in a boat called the Estranger.
Yeah.
Estranger? He's like, oh, okay, cool. But she doesn't just leave it at that either. He's like, oh, okay, just get, like, a straight answer to my...
By the way.
But wait, there's more. Now I'm going to give you some more cryptic bullshit. So we find out that part of the reason Michael and them are all... Don't get involved.
Real quick, who was it before that he asked him a question, and they're like, are you sure that's the question you want to ask?
That was the mother's, I think.
And made him think it again? That was the mother's?
He's like, I know what I want to ask, and they're like, no, you don't.
That seems very much like this, where she's like, okay, they're in a boat at the harbor. More importantly, you know you're part of a prophecy, right?
Yeah.
Something juicier.
Right?
Yeah.
Straight up. It's like, she didn't tell him that his question was bad, but it was very much, it's like, he's like, just please tell me, should I have a milkshake or a salad? And she's like, fuck, have a fucking milkshake. Listen, dude.
Right? That is not the point. Yeah. So we find out why the Knights of the White God are all got their panties in a bunch. And are their cloaks in a knot? But yeah, it's because they got a prophecy. Goddamn prophecies fucking popping up everywhere. And he's like, only part? So she's like, they received the part that said, if you should seek it, you will most assuredly perish. And so... Obviously, Michael is like, okay, well, this says you look for the Shroud, you die. Don't look, don't go.
Yeah. Harry, please, I don't want you looking for the Shroud.
We got this handled. We've been sent in. Like, doesn't matter if you know. And then we find out that the adversary concealed some of it from them. So it wasn't like they just came apart like a ripped scroll and didn't know where it was supposed to. Like, it was specifically
purposely
manipulated.
Released a portion of a prophecy.
Let's just get them in the way for you.
We leaked out this little, So then he's like, okay, well, why are you telling me? And she's like, well, because you need to have the second half if it's going to be restored balance and everything. And he's like, okay. So she's like, okay, if you see it, you die. And he's like, yeah, got it. And then she's like, and again, nice little theatrical, melodramatic. As she like lays down and starts to like drift away, just so he can't ask any more questions, get any more clarifications, call bull, nothing, right? It's like the best way to get the last word is if you're just not there.
It's if you just dissolve.
Yeah. But she's like...
Talk about a fade out.
Right, it's like, take that, bitch. But it's like, if you do not, they all die, and the city with them. So they all presumably being at least the 3 knights that she was, but everybody else in the city too. So
and
really,
Chicago.
Pick anybody you want to be they. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. The stakes are high.
Mm-hmm. And then click, hang up, you can.
Yeah. She's like back in the spirit realm laughing.
She's like,
that's what you get for the Cabbage Patch.
Right. All of them like clocking in and out of work, and it's like fade out again. It's like, oh yeah, fucking left that bitch hanging. High five.
But I'm gonna be thinking about that one for weeks. Oh my god.
No, he doesn't. His life, he doesn't have time next week. I do like though, like the whole part about like the adversary, assuming that means Denarians, is that they've concealed it from him, and it's kind of like, okay, to a portion, I get why they would conceal it, right? Because they want the knights to die. They don't want to talk about how to keep the knights alive, right? But at the same time, it also seems like they're purposely being like they don't want Harry to go after the Shroud, right? They're like, well, here's a good part of it. Like, we'll just keep Harry away from this too, no problem, keep it all. But they want him to be involved from their end, right?
So, yay and nay. I mean, yeah, one is probably just a general kind of like like, whatever, we'll just, again, fingers in lots of pies kind of a thing, like, hey, if this works, great. If it doesn't, hey, we still got this, right? But I'm like, again, are they doing it specific? I mean, again, yeah. If Harry's like, oh, okay, dude, I don't want this, like, I don't want Michael to have to be responsible, so yeah, I'll back out, then great. They get the benefit of him not being a player in the game or whatever, and they're that much more...
It's a little bit of a divide and conquer move, too, in a way. Like, it pits them against each other.
A little bit, yeah, exactly. But if they know that Harry's not going to be able to just walk away, or for whatever reason, whether it's pride or because he gave his word to do it or whatever, then exactly, right? It's like, but if he's still in it, they're going to be that little bit of extra distraction and whatever, because now they got to worry about that you're in it, and they got to try and protect you while still trying to do your thing.
It poisons the water between them, too.
Yeah, right? So it's like, I think it kind of is on multiple.
It seems to a certain degree that, Michael still wouldn't allow Harry to give his life up for the knights, right? He's like, well, I can't do that. Like, we're supposed to sacrifice ourselves, but we're not allowed to sacrifice our cog. It's a little bit like...
Yeah, but I think that's it, is because they only got the part that, yeah, exactly. Like, if they had the whole thing, then they would know, yes, there's still a risk. I mean, again, Michael does know. Harry risks his life all the time. Mm-hmm. But it's more just so, like, we know for, again, it's like, yeah, when they were dealing with the stuff in grave peril, it was like, you might die, I might die, we might die, but we still have to go ahead and whatever. Whereas here, they're like, no, he will definitely, if he gets involved in this, he has no chance of, right? So they're like, if we just make you, like, okay, we're already on this, and we know we can handle lots of big bad, and again, we've handled these guys before, and you've never met up with them, and whatever, right? Like, you think that's more of it then, not that you can't ever ensure there's going to be other times, but it's like...
Get there, yeah.
Yeah, in this particular instance, we know that you don't have a shot in hell, so...
wait, you're fucked.
Yeah, but...
Makes everything a lot more difficult.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So before we finish, if you are like listening to our podcast and you are not reading ahead in the books, and you don't know what happens next in like all the books at all, turn off the episode and go away. But for people who do, obviously, as I assume is like 99.9% of our audience
so far
has pretty much read the entire series already, I very much like that should you go after the Shroud, Harry Dresden, you almost assuredly perish, right? Mm-hmm. The very next person he meets is Kincaid.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
It's exciting.
That's exciting.
This concludes our episode 10.7, The Cabbage Patch Prophecy. Thank you for listening. You can find us online at freeflowrambling.com and McAnallys.ca. There we have links to our other podcasts and social media and other fun tidbits. Please subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and please consider supporting us through Patreon to keep the magic alive and see more content. We are Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.